The comments like, yeah, we don't usually do it, but we don't have Daniel to tell us what to do. Yeah. So
Daniel holds everything together.
Hey, without me, this channel does not exist. I am fully aware.
Y'all are nothing without me.
They are! I have the fucking camera! I'm the one who edits this
remember,
shit!
You're the nucleus, remember?
I am the nucleus. Well, hey guys, welcome back. How y'all doing? We just went to go see, well, the three of us went to go see Shin Godzilla, aka Godzilla Resurgence, and it was fucking awesome.
Oh yeah.
Loved it.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, you didn't, because you're a fucking pussy. And you went to go see the movie, The Accountant, that's gonna be in theaters for a fucking month. This was the last day that our local theater was showing it. Would you call this, because some people are calling this a remake, but they mentioned the original event 60 years ago.
It has certain elements where you could kind of see it as a sequel to the original, but at the same time, it feels like it's very much in its own universe, so I could also see it like as a reboot.
For what it is, I think it's a strong reboot. I thought the effects were great, I thought the acting was good, I thought the political commentary, because all Godzilla movies movies are like zombie movies, in which the time in which they're made reflects the political commentary that's going to be made and expressed, and I thought that, while being a little on the nose, was good. And it's a little long, but for what we got, I think this is a solid fucking flick. But before we go any further, spoiler alert! It's right there. We're gonna be spoiling the shit out of this. So click on our traitor Liam's head over there for the time code. You know what? You can suck my chode.
Awesome. Accountant was pretty awesome.
You'll get to watch that review soon, but fuck it. If you want to see, if you want to see our final thoughts and scores out of 6 stars, just click on Liam's head over there. Otherwise, you've been warned. There's like some seismic activity that happens in the middle of Japan, and the government is trying to figure out what it is. The main guy, his name is Yaguchi. I do not know who plays him. There are so many characters in this movie. Whatever.
Some of them aren't even characters.
He looks on the internet and he's seeing all the video that people are getting, like from Snapchat and Twitter and other social media accounts, and he's like, look, reports are saying that it's a giant creature, and everybody's looking at him like, shut that shit down. It's a fucking underwater volcanic eruption or seismic thing. And then this guy gets a call on, and he's like, wait, turn on the TV, and there's a giant fucking 50-foot tail.
Huh, I guess you were right.
The entire movie is the government trying to figure out how to deal with the Godzilla problem. It's a lot of watching boardrooms and conference meetings about how do we get rid of it, do we exterminate it, can we capture it, what is it? For the first about 45 minutes of this movie, this is basically Eye in the Sky, but as a comedy. Because it's basically all about bureaucratic ineffectiveness.
And there's good humor in there too.
There's
like very
really
subtle
good humor.
Like, we laughed like several times.
Oh, you know the guy that laughed.
Ha!
There are moments when they're talking about the evacuation, and they're showing like the lines and miles of traffic escaping Godzilla, and there's this guy who's next to us just going, ha! Sir, there are people dying.
It wasn't even a laugh, just literally the word ha.
Pretty much. And it would happen anytime the movie would make sort of a political comment.
Yeah.
Where they'd talk about the American government being very one-track minded and aggressive. He goes, oh, that's typically American. It got to the point where he would go like, and I'd be like, I would just start openly mocking him, because this dude is the only guy doing it.
I was seriously afraid he was gonna come find us.
There's a lot of comedy centered around how everyone's asking the Prime Minister for permission to basically take out Godzilla, even though Godzilla is like openly destroying like miles and tracts of land.
It's very subtle humor though. It's not like in your face, like haha, get it. Like
a lot of it's built off of the reactions of the other people.
The reactions are what make it funny.
There is some over-the-top humor, like whenever they're in the laboratory trying to figure out something about Godzilla, and this one guy figures out this accomplishment. He goes, he picks up the laptop to go into the center of the room and explain it to people, and he almost fucking trips on the wire.
And then Yaguchi's reaction to it,
he's
like,
just looking at this. He's like, this motherfucker. Even Godzilla goes through sort of like this goofy part, and then he gets serious, because at the beginning...
He looked like a turkey in the beginning.
Yeah, a turkey, that's it. We call him Fish Godzilla.
Because in this one, Godzilla is constantly evolving. He comes out looking sort of like a fish with gills.
That are spitting out blood.
He kind of looks like a giant tadpole.
He's got like nubs for arms.
It's
and
so cute.
He's basically just crawling, but he had these huge eyes. Like,
these huge bugging eyes, just like... The most recent Godzilla from 2014, where they had the slow... Fuck off, that movie was
You
good.
don't have an opinion until you've seen this movie.
Yeah,
In that movie, they built up Godzilla. They had the swelling music to when you first see him.
And then they cut away.
Not in this one. This one, they just cut and he's staring right at you, just
like the movie literally begins with them trying, with Godzilla rising, like being right at the beginning of the movie. Like they don't set it up for anything.
There is
He's
no
just
fucking
there.
around. The way he wiggles is kind of like our cat Sage. Because Sage does this like little butt wiggle when she's about to like pounce and attack our other cat Jonas. But
I need to put a picture of her doing that in this.
with time, Godzilla evolves into this like petrifying,
nightmare-inducing
giant form.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's bleeding throughout the entire movie. These red lines and just jagged, terrifying teeth. And again, cracked out meth eyes. It's fucking...
They just stare
petrifying.
down at you like no emotion whatsoever.
Whenever you see Godzilla finally about to destroy things, because the military's first offensive kind of... He gets to the ground, and so you think, oh, is he hurt or something? No, he starts aiming his fire breath, and you see the breath just shoot from his mouth and spread throughout the entire city, and buildings are instantly destroyed, and everything is knocked down, and it starts out as fire. The fire is destroying stuff. Then he goes to the atomic breath, and that shit is like... It's like a lightsaber to paper. It is insane how much destruction Godzilla causes.
Because it starts off with just his mouth, and then just when you think it can't get any crazier, it starts coming out of his spines and then his tail, and it just goes everywhere.
It looks like a disco ball from hell.
Yeah.
And it's fucking awesome.
And you have this dramatic choir music playing in the background. Like, it just... It was amazing. He just obliterated and annihilated everything in his path.
I admire this movie for taking, you mentioned this earlier, a realistic approach at the damage something like this would cause.
It's a very grounded and lo-fi film where you see the government like reacting in a very realistic way. Like, how would they deal with something like this if this actually happened?
Is that something that other Godzilla movies take a look at? Because the one from Legendary for 2014, it was very much set on the ground with the people who don't know anything. Whereas here, you're seeing a lot of the people in charge making these tough decisions.
In most of the other Godzilla films, it was basically straightforward. Okay, how do we stop him? Like, just very simple. Like, we need to do this. They don't really discuss anything. They don't discuss, like, well, how will this affect Japan in this way or this way or this way? They just, we gotta stop him, simple. Whereas this film took a much more realistic political approach to it.
They come up with these two plans. One of them, which involves more international cooperation and funding, but it involves the United States taking the lead on it and basically using a nuclear missile to blow up Godzilla. And so the collateral damage and the fallout's gonna be massive, but more than likely it's probably gonna stop Godzilla, they say. Versus the more Japanese-led frontier with technology and innovation led by Yaguchi, which is called the Yishiora plan.
I think that's what it was called. I don't remember. I just call it the freezing plan.
Yeah, their idea is basically to get this blood coagulant to cool Godzilla down like a nuclear reactor. And they named it after this this Japanese myth, I think, where this guy used this special magical sake to end the name. Have you ever played Okami?
No.
Okami, the last boss, is a Hydra. And what you do is you get this magical sake and you force feed it into its mouth to put it to sleep, and then you finally take it out.
That's basically what the film was doing.
Pretty much. So yeah,
They
if
just
you've ever
open its
played the
mouth.
ending of Okami, that's basically their plan, except with science as opposed to magical alcohol.
And it gets really intense because you're wondering, okay, is the plan going to work or not? Because it sort of goes back and forth where, okay, this phase didn't work, but this phase worked. Like, it gets you on the edge of your seat. Like, is this going to work?
First of all, it's them making the plan work in time for this, because the United States has this coordinated offense for the nuclear strike, and the people in Japan have to, you know, use back channels and try to get diplomats to help convince the UN Security Council to deal or postpone the event.
After Godzilla's first attack, where he did the awesome, like, destruction, that's when I got into the political talk. That's when the film, for me, took a really different tonal shift, where it was like, okay, now we're not messing around, this is serious. He just annihilated, like, half of the city. Like,
Yeah.
now we gotta figure out what to do, because that's really when they get into the international affairs.
There are some Godzilla movies where the military offensive just looks very haphazard and put together. And even though this one is, the way they show each stage of the operation makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because they basically have waves of defense, and they're starting to realize that conventional weaponry, guns, missiles, bombs, etc., they're not going to stop Godzilla.
And you see the reactions on their faces, like, oh my gosh,
Like,
nothing can stop this thing. Like,
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And Yaguchi actually has some great speeches, I thought, in this. Very impassioned, powerful stuff where he's saying, look, we're beaten down, but we're not going to give up. We basically won't let the death of our countrymen be in vain.
yeah, when he was giving that speech to the military, and I was like, oh gosh, this is going to be one of those cheesy, inspirational speeches, but it wasn't. It was very, like, heartfelt and sincere.
One of the problems with this movie is that it has a wealth of characters, and it
Yeah.
likes to do the whole, this is where we're at right now, this is the person, and this is their title, this is the person, and this is their title. And because Chris Stuckman pointed this out in his review, and I'm gonna steal his idea here.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Where we're an American audience, so we have the Japanese subtitles, and the Japanese subtitles are for the people to explain, for Japanese people to see
know
the
the
name of this person and their title. But we can't read Japanese, so on top of the Japanese characters, there's
The English
fucking
dub.
English subtitles, and then they have English subtitles of the dialogue over the title and name of the person. So the English subtitles for the name and title of the person are up here. So throughout the first 30 minutes of this movie,
Gosh.
most of the screen is taken up by these three things.
By text, just everywhere. And there's even some parts where you're like having a computer screen's point of view, and like literally the whole screen was covered in.
You'll say this about Japanese cinematography: they don't fuck around.
I know there's some low angle shots of Godzilla. Yeah.
All.
Yeah, and they look awesome. Like you see the size of Godzilla. You see how big he is. They like really emphasize it with their angles.
And that would be something that the 50s movie did to block out a guy in the suit.
Yeah.
Because of technology now, they have some fantastic wide shots.
Oh yeah.
Some stuff that I was thinking, man, if I could screenshot this and put it on my computer wallpaper.
Some of the best cinematography I've seen of a movie this year, like definitely.
Yeah, really good stuff. Stuff that puts the legendary flick to shame.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of gimmicky stuff too, like a lot of the close-up angles. There's this one shot of an ambulance light that I swear to God was lifted off of Scorsese's Bringing Out the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
There's one scene where they're in the lab and scrambling to get this makeshift lab so they can test out Godzilla's biology. They have a fucking camera on top of an office chair, and they're running that office chair around and seeing the crowd of people going. Whereas American filmmaking is so focused with like establishing shot, then we have a shot of your person, and then medium shots, close-up shots for emotion, very regimented stuff. The Japanese will just try out different fucking angles that you'll never see.
One thing I didn't like was the close-up shots where you like got really into the character's face. I was like, I don't need to be that close. Like, it was kind of awkward for me.
We saw this at a big old fuck off screen too,
like,
so I saw a dude's nostrils. It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Around later in the movie, whenever they started getting more emotional and started getting
Things
more
got better.
gravitas, I thought some of those close-up shots were fine. It hits more than it misses, and the result was actually a really, really fun time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Especially the ending fight with Godzilla. I love watching kind of like a plan go into action, kind of like a game of Mousetrap. Their final plan to freeze Godzilla at the end, because they finally get everything ready, it was really fun. Like, you got to see these unmanned bullet trains with fucking bombs in them. They're trapping Godzilla and distracting him, and then they have aerial combat, and then they're knocking down buildings to stop him. They're getting these cranes full of this fluid inside of Godzilla's mouth, and at the beginning you think it's slowing him down, and then he starts shooting atomic weapons.
There's this one shot where all these trains just come crashing into him, and
It
it's
reminded
like,
me
oh
of
my God.
Ant-Man.
Yeah, it just we were expecting Thomas the Tank Engine to just pop out of there.
Dude, that would have been fucking awesome. With
Giant
those creepy,
Thomas the Tank
creepy
Engine.
ass golf ball googly eyes.
Looking
Fuck
at
yeah, man.
Godzilla's creepy eyes.
The blood coagulant works, and it ends up freezing Godzilla into basically a statue.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I was like, so are they just gonna leave him there? Like, what are they
Right?
gonna do with him? Like,
I was imagining some like giant helicopters
Giant
just
crane.
like hook into him. It's like yoink, and just carry him off screen.
they end with this close up of his tail.
Yeah.
I think it was, and there's all these like humanoid like mini Godzillas inside the tail. They had like dorsal fins on their back, and it was like
that's crazy.
the CGI on Godzilla was inconsistent, because there's some shots where it looked really good,
You're
and then
right.
there's some up close shots where I was like, I don't know. Japan's
Screen.
pretty iffy when it comes to CGI. For the film they were doing, it worked well enough.
Yeah.
There were some shots where I was really convinced that it was a guy in a suit. Like, they really fooled me there.
Welcome back. If you clicked on timecode, we've been rambling on for a little bit about Godzilla. We're gonna go into our final thoughts and scores out of 6 stars. So I'm gonna start with the newbie here, Mr. Noah, finally making his debut. Finally making his fucking debut in after credits.
Overall, the film was really solid. I did like it more than the 2014 film. The human characters, while they weren't exactly interesting, they did have good performances, and the dialogue was very riveting. And of course, Godzilla was just amazing, and the action and the musical score was really good. So I'm gonna go 5 out of 6.
I don't want to give an explanation because I'm tired, but I'd give it a 5.
This is easily one of the more fun
Oh, yeah.
takes. This made me want to just go back home and watch every Godzilla movie ever made. I had a lot of fun with this. It was funny, it was intense, it was dramatic. I liked the commentary, I loved the action. Some of the CGI's hit or miss, and there are a couple slow parts, but the more I talk about this, yeah, I have to agree with them. 5 out of 6. I enjoyed the hell out of this. If September's been a little slow for you, or October or whatnot, definitely give this a watch and kind of revitalize yourself for Halloween. Thank y'all very much for watching. If you like this video, like buttons down there. Want more content, subscribe buttons down there. You'll be the first to know when new content is up. We've got Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages all located in the links below. We've got Liam's blog, where he'll probably review The Accountant in more detail and cover movies that we don't necessarily cover. Do you have anything to plug?
Godzilla's back.
We got a screening for American Pastoral on Tuesday and Manchester by the Sea on Thursday.
I've talked more now than I have in the past couple of days, and now it's killing my throat. So I'm gonna stop, and y'all take care. You have a good night.